Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news. Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, just don't unfriend me. 'Cause I'm everything you want, damn sure what you need. I won't tell no lies, back up all the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's stuff.
Hey, Hog Twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. Matt and Leroy in the house tonight. Leroy, where did Leroy go? 3, 2, 1.
I go.
There he is. All right, folks. Listen, the phone
there
is
I am.
1-804-504-1955. We're accepting call-ins. We'd like to have you call in. If you have something you want to talk about tonight, please do. This show is for everybody. It doesn't matter what your political disposition is. It doesn't matter what your ideology is. We don't really care. Be a decent human being and you can come on. I listen, there are times where people are like, oh, I'm afraid because I think Matt's going to be mean to me or he's going to, tell me that I'm wrong. I promise you I will. But now, and once that happens, then what?
Well, now that you've set that tone.
Right. You're going to be okay. Well, if you're wrong, I'm going to tell you. But on the, when the foot is on the other shoe, when you're right, I'm going to tell you too. And when I'm indifferent, I don't know, I'm going to tell you, well, I don't know about that. It's possible. Who cares? You've been dealing with disappointment your entire life.
Don't I know it?
All of us watched the last episode of Dallas. All of us tried to watch Ishtar and said, could it possibly be this bad? All of us has bought a second Bon Jovi album.
Ouch.
Come on. Well, the second Bon Jovi album, the great thing about it is it's just like the first.
That is
true. Can you put your camera down a little? I feel like I'm sitting above you. I feel like I'm looking down upon you, and it's really impacting my. I mean,
how's that?
That's better. Yeah, I'm looking a little lofty.
I'm here to make you feel better, Matt. That's what I'm here for.
That's important. Yeah, or just don't be wrong, right? I mean, don't be wrong. I mean, if you're afraid, don't be wrong. Call into the show. Say hello. Listen, don't call in just be like, okay, this is what I hate. People call in, I'm like, hey, welcome. What do you want to talk about? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Okay, don't call my show.
What do you want to do tonight, Brian?
Right. I'm not your girlfriend. I'm not your boyfriend. If you don't know what you want for dinner, don't ask me. Just, stop by. Tell me what you're thinking. What's going on? I don't care if you want to talk about the weather. If you want to talk about your some sort of amazing event in your life, you want to talk about hockey or a movie, fine. But don't call me and just sit here and listen to us talk. Get in here, have something to say, chime in, have a take, and make it happen. 804-504-1955. You want to do video? We can do video. Or if you want to do just by phone, you can do that too. Just dial the number, just like you would dial any number. Turn down your Facebook and have a conversation. Leroy, how are things?
Things are okay. Things are okay. We had a massive storm that came through Ohio, and last minute we had the windows. It was such a beautiful day out for most of the day, and so when the storm came through, all of a sudden I started getting calls from the wife who was out, and she was like, "Hey, you got to go shut all the windows right away." I'm like, "Why? What's going on?" I wasn't near a window. She's like, "I think it's getting ready to rain." And lo and behold, man. I went to go close a couple of these and the rain had already started pouring in. And that's the one thing that torques her off more than anything else is like water on the floors and stuff.
Is a wet window.
It's terrible.
Terrible. Nothing worse than a wet window, folks. Just let you know. It's not good. It seeps through and you can sit here and say, oh, that window will be the same. It's not. Have you ever tried to clean out a window in the grooves? Once it gets water in it, forget about it.
It's terrible.
Forget about it. It's just horrible. You can't have a wet window. Folks, welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show, where we cover all sorts of things. Amy will be here. She's running late. What's new? The sky is blue, water is wet, and the grass is green. She's a busy lady. What do you want? She's all over the place. I got my workout in. I feel good. Colorado Avalanche are going for their 8th win in a row. They're literally just stomping the entire NHL. I would love to play Boston right now. If there's one team that can spank Boston, it's the Colorado Avalanche. I want that Stanley Cup so bad. I want Boston versus the Avs. Man, I'll tell you what, I think Boston may win that series, but damn it, if there's any team that can beat Boston, it's only the Avs. There's no other team in the league that can beat Boston. They're going to beat themselves before anything. And they very well may. Listen, the regular season is nothing, but this team is by far as good as the Avs were last year and should have had one of the best records in hockey. Boston's just doing something incredible. And it's their time. They have recruited, they've drafted the right people. They've made the right acquisitions. They're an extremely disciplined professional team. But there's one thing that they don't play well against. The one consistent is speed. And the Avs are the fastest team in hockey, and they are incredible. And they're a great team when they're healthy. So we got to see if we get Rantanen and Eric Johnson back. Forget about it. It's going to be a great series. So anyway, if you don't watch hockey, now's the time to watch it. Boston's doing wonderful. McDavid's an amazing player. He's a once in a lifetime generational player. If you enjoy sports at all, you owe it to yourself to watch hockey because McDavid is a Gretzky. He is the Gretzky of this generation. He's fantastic. He can't win shit. He doesn't win against my Avalanche, but he's still a Gretzky style player. All right, now that we've covered that. Go Leafs, go! Yeah, I don't think the Leafs have upgraded their team. I don't. Until the Leafs get out of the second round, they're not even in the conversation. The East, listen, real quick, is most of the Western talent went east, which just helps the Avs because nobody beefed up. Nobody got fundamentally better. Edmonton didn't get better. Calgary didn't get better. Dallas didn't get better. Minnesota didn't get better. The Avalanche, surprisingly enough, by getting Landeskog, an all-star, former all-star, an all-star, and Johnson, a former all-star back, we'll have the best trade off season, and we established our third line center. And those guys probably are going to be long-term injured reserve, which means we got $11 million in cap, and we're not done yet. So honestly, the Avalanche are just the powerhouse in the West. I don't see anyone beating them. And then we get to let the East beat the hell out of each other for 20 some odd games. I mean, the East is stacked. It is incredible. And everyone went to the East. So now what you've got is 8 amazing powerhouses. The top 8 teams in the Eastern Conference would be 1 through 8 in the Western Conference, if that shows you how good the East is. But the problem is that they feast on a bunch of weak teams. Because the top 1 through 8 in the Eastern Conference is stellar, but the bottom 9 through 16 are all weak. Well, in the West, it's a lot closer together, which means you have more parity, which means those teams are going to be used to playing good teams all year long and are going to have a little more salt to them. I think Boston is preying on weak teams, and they're just extremely good. This is the same thing we saw with Edmonton when they were preying on Canada. Folks, this isn't a hockey podcast, but I could do it if you really wanted me to, but alas, you don't, so let's move on.
I was just thinking that. I was like, welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. This week is hockey's edition.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's shift it. Baseball is that Boston's still on top. No, Boston's not on top. Boston hasn't done shit. The only team that's on top is the Colorado Avalanche because we have the Stanley Cup. Boston has an early playoff exit. You haven't done shit. This is the regular season, Jack, and you know that. So don't start waxing hockey with me. I will spank you like your daddy. Boston has done nothing. They've had a great regular season. With that and a bag of chips, congrats. You have a great afternoon snack. Let's get into the playoffs. Let's see you guys get through Carolina. Let's see you get through the Rangers or Jersey Devils. Let's see what Tampa Bay does because they have Vasilevsky and he always is a great performer. You guys don't do well against Western Conference teams. And the reason why is because Western Conference is predominantly speed. You guys play a lot of block trap hockey. You have strong bodies. You're a little bit slower of foot. You also have veterans and a little bit older. But when you face the Avalanche, when you face Edmonton, you guys kind of buckle like a belt. So let's not get all braggy yet.
All right. Feel better.
Just saying, dude. So anyway, and the Houston Astros are ready to go back to back. So all right, now that we've done that, all right. Sorry about the sports. I'm excited for my sports.
I don't care. Dude, I'm just here to break your balls and have a little fun.
Oh, yes, my balls. So here's the thing. Is Lori Lightfoot
Oh,
Yeah.
I
So,
came
well, let's say
armed
hello.
with
Let's say hello to everybody first, real quick. Michelle, Bubba, James, Dale, Carrie, Jose, Lee, Rhiannon. Rhiannon, welcome. Is this the Rhiannon from my childhood? I got to know. Rhiannon is not a very popular name. It was in the 70s because everyone was hippies and Fleetwood Mac. Rhiannon, is this my Rhiannon from when I was a kid? James, Kristen, Lee, Alexander, Brenda, Bubba, Thomas, Judy. I won't say the same name twice. Watch how good this is. Tam, Ivan, David, Jesus, Ramon, Donna, Carol, Kat, Sandra, Karen, Michelle, Lee, Marianne, Terry, Truck and Tinkerbell, David, Ashley, Terry. Oh, my memory's starting to get full. Dino, Alfonso, Carl, Cheryl, Tuner. Am I going to do this? Sharon. Oh, I think I said Sharon twice. Darren.
Could have been a different Sharon.
It's true. It's true. Ruby. CJ. Terrell. That's it. I don't think I said the same name twice. It's getting pretty good, folks. That's getting knowing my viewers. All right. Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah.
Has there ever been, Jason, what's up, buddy? Hi, Mel. Has there ever been this large of a failure from a mayor position ever?
If there has been, I can't think of it.
You got a Dallas chief of police who comes over, who I know and know not personally well. I've met him one time. And he was responsible back in, I want to say 16, when those Dallas police officers were shot at the BLM rally that BLM was not responsible for. I want to be clear. And his response was fantastic. It was disciplined. It was holding protesters who were rioting responsible. Joe, I said you first, Joe. Joe, I didn't miss you. I got you, Joe. I got you on Canicat. Go back. And if I missed you, fine. There's my one. I didn't say the same name twice. I didn't say I missed anybody. Okay. And this guy comes in and Lori Lightfoot ruins him. And I got to give him credit. A lot of people are talking trash and saying this guy is a, BLM supporter, and he's not. You do what the mayor says. Now, the chief of police reports to the mayor. It's not the other way around.
Right.
And she put these progressive DAs in place, and he remained loyal and did his job. Well, now he's just resigned. He's out because his responses were all hers. And when you interview for a job with a mayor, she goes, this is what I'm going to do. How do you feel about that? And he said, yes, he signed on for what he got. That's his fault. He signed on for a bunch of absolute mediocrity and failure. And that's his responsibility. But I got to give him credit. At least he remained loyal to her and stood up there, even though it was like biting through a horse bit. I mean, he wanted to just be like, this woman's full of shit. I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait to quit. But Lori Lightfoot, instead of talking about the 156% increase in homicides,
Right.
talking about the black youth dying at epic proportions, robbery, rape, larceny, all up at just an ungodly clip compared to the rest of the United States. The only other city that's worse is Atlanta, which is going to surpass Chicago in overall violence. Lori Lightfoot and her policies have been an absolute abortion. Like, she can go ahead and just speak out against abortion because her policies, there's enough abortion for her to be happy. So Leroy,
everyone,
I want to get your thoughts. She just got ousted. There's two candidates, and real quick, there's two candidates. It's Vallis, I believe.
Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis.
Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson. Hold on. Brandon, I'm setting you up, man. You got to let me give you the slow pitch across the plate, and then I'm going to shut the fudge up. Brandon Johnson is a complete socialist. He's just like her. He's a progressive dick, and he's probably more progressive than she is. Vallis is tough on crime. A lot of people are like, oh, wait till Vallis gets in. No, he's tough on crime. He went against the Chicago school board unions. He's not a Republican. He's a Democrat, but he is more of a centrist and a middle of the road Democrat than most. He's an upgrade to her, and it looks like he's probably going to win. Okay, now go ahead, buddy.
Okay.
And
So-
anyone that says anyone that says do per capita is a bullshit stat. It's bullshit. Anybody who's been to Texas knows there's more guns in Texas than anywhere on the planet. However, when you do per capita, people are like, Wyoming. Per capita is the way to make smaller states that don't have as many people feel better. Okay? It's not an accurate representation of the overall number. It is good to look at. It is a piece of data, but it does not make up the complexity of the whole of the situation. So don't give me per capita bullshit. Go ahead, Leroy.
Per capita statistics are helpful, but only when you're really comparing country to other countries, right? That's really the only time that it can be at all useful. Anything beyond that, it's kind of a twisted way to kind of get the number that you want to pull out of a debate. So when we're talking about Lori Lightfoot and her recent failure, which is fantastic, I was listening to the news, and the first thing that came to my mind is, oh, okay, she's out. That's great, right? Or is it? I don't know anything about who's replacing her.
Right.
And
So,
so I went ahead and did a little digging, and that was when I came across both Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis. And you're absolutely right. Paul Vallis does seem like he's the current favored leader, and the race ain't over yet. But I listened to a little bit of Brandon Johnson's kind of his voting pattern. They're both Democrat, by the way.
Yeah, they're both, like I
which
said,
is
they're
kind
both
of
Democrat.
given. I mean, they're both from the Chicago, area. So, but when I was listening to Brandon Johnson pitch his idea, his was, hey, I want better funding for neighborhood schools. Okay, great. But he started using all of the key phrases, equitable and progressive movement. He was very hard on that. Very big on his number one concern was public safety should be issue number one. And so I was listening to that, and literally every policy that he was regurgitating when he was being asked about it were sounded very much like the normal Democrat talking points, which is one of big government. I am here to make sure that everyone, gets a fair shot, and it was this type of typical buzzword speeches, and it really threw me off. So when I really started thinking about, like,
why did it throw you off? And why did it throw you off? And it was the prototypical Democratic speech.
Well, here's why. Because I was thinking initially, oh, great, Lori Lightfoot is out. And then I realized, are they getting anybody who is better than her? And although that remains to be seen, my gut feeling is we don't know. We don't know.
Well, have you
remember,
you mentioned Johnson, but you didn't mention
Sure.
Vallis's policy. What about Vallis?
No. And I didn't really have a chance to go into it that much. And I'm going to.
Okay, so let me tell you, he's tough on
that part.
That's okay. He's tough on crime. He's got a pair of balls. He went after the teachers unions. He was a superintendent. The guy's got business. He's not someone I love. I would never want him in my state. But with Chicago, it kind of like when you're in a leper colony, the guy with the biggest schlong is usually the president. Okay. So that's the way you got to look at this, is that, he's got a dick remaining. So therefore he gets the job. And that isn't that just plays right into Lori Lightfoot's hands about being sexist and racist. Here's her interview. Let's take a listen to this, and we're going to pick this thing apart because it's worth it to do so. Maybe we will. Oh, of course. This is why you download your videos ahead of time, folks.
Real quick, while he's just trying to sort that out. My biggest point, right, was that it's great that she's out, but it's basically her policies that failed Chicago, nothing else. So what happens if we get another person in there with the same policies? That's my biggest concern.
Well, hold on a second. The yes and no to that. Now, let me tell you why that's yes, is because ultimately on the surface, all Democrats are the same. All conservatives are the same, even though you and I know that's not true. But that's what you say from a surface level standpoint. But what we One second. What we do have, though, is a situation where the voters have said progressive policies, no. And
Right.
if they have said progressive policies, no, then if you go in with the same policies, you're looking for a 4-year term. What's the one thing a person who just won a 4-year term wants? They want an 8-year
Another
term. Right. They want another term. And that's every politician. So what you can say is that politicians change their spots, not based on the necessity of the people, but what the polls say and what gets them reelected. So he can't possibly be worse than Lori Lightfoot just from a self-preservation standpoint. He's got to try new things. And based upon his talking points, like I said, although I don't endorse him, he's coming across as somebody who may do what's necessary to at least get the ball rolling. Let's listen to this real quick. Hold on a second, folks. I got to make sure that this is broadcasting real quick. Remind me, Leroy, if you wouldn't mind, because you're just a freaking awesome guy, is to fix this.
What are you trying to
Remind me
fix?
to fix this audio so I don't have to kind of change it every single time.
Got it.
We can't hear it. We can't hear it. Hold on.
So let me just do this.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, she's creepy.
Thank you.
Oh, she is speaking.
All right. So let me just do this. So thank you and thank everyone so much. I feel a lot of love in this room, as I've felt every step of the way on this journey. I've called Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis to congratulate them on their victories in advancing to the runoffs. We were fierce competitors in these last few months, but I will be rooting and praying for our next mayor to deliver for the people of the city
What I couldn't.
for years to come.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Four years ago.
So, not sure why.
Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson to concede.
There we go.
You can love who you want to love and do what you want to do and be who you always believe.
And Brandon Johnson to concede. Let's listen in right now.
And I want you to know that no matter what happens along the way, you should always believe that, because it's true. Believe that you can bring about change. Believe that you matter. And believe that you can love who you want to love and do what you want to do and be who you want to be. You will not be defined
Unless they get killed in a drive-by shooting in Chicago. Then you just got to love who's available and who's left. Like, just who's remaining. It's a smorgasbord of mediocrity. Listen, folks, I want just evil. The only thing that kills evil is evil. I hate to say it. You got to, these guys that go overseas and face terrorism and face ISIS, Al Qaeda, Red Brigade, Hezbollah, whatever it is, and they have to have a certain level of, I hate to say it, it's evil. You got to get down in the mud, and you got to turn off your conscience. You got to turn off the human side of you that says to be humane, to be civil, to be human, and to be compassionate. Am I saying that we have to go into the inner city and flip the switch? No. But love and compassion is not going to get us where we need to be. These guys don't give a fuck about that. They care about the dollar. They care about power. They care about being the highest syndicated criminal element in the city. And the only way to fight that is with fire. You're not going to fight it with hearts and rainbows and kittens. So you're going to have to turn it on a little bit. And if you're losing $66,000 a year to suicide with guns, okay, we can address that from a mental health standpoint. From accidental shootings, we can address that with a gun safety standpoint. But if most of it is coming from black on black shootings and inner city youth and crime, then that's what needs to be addressed. And if you have to consider that, at least in the inner cities, to be a national security threat, because it is, how many Sidi Poitiers have we killed? How many Maya Angelou's have we killed? We can go on and on and on. And we can talk about that with abortion too. But we're losing an incredible amount of American citizen life from abortion to gang violence to improper health care of African Americans. There's so many things that we need to address that we have got to fight fire with fire. And the first problem that we have to address before we can address all these other inequities is Black youth being murdered and not being safe to go to work or have options to do what they need to do because they have to join a gang and get initiated by shooting another person. Leroy, thoughts?
Agree with everything you just said. Now, here's the thing. Brendan Johnson actually called her out at one point while they were in debate, and this has been a little bit. But I didn't know this, and I actually had to find it after the fact that Lori Lightfoot had substantial steps towards shutting down a lot of the mental health facilities within the city limits. I didn't know that. And one of the things that Brandon Johnson did say that he would do was to reopen those. Now, on that front, maybe that's where I could see what you were talking about earlier, where you're not going to have somebody who necessarily follows the exact same policies, because that would just be another failure. So what they have to do is find somebody who maybe does kind of shy away from that progressivism a little bit, and maybe opening up mental health facilities. I don't know. Maybe that's the step. I don't know.
But is gang violence a mental health issue, or is it an economic issue?
No, and I wasn't quite done, but I was going to say this. All of her stances.
Yeah, but Leroy, if I wait until you're done, I'll never get a question, and that's my job. So you've got to get over this thing where I can't ask you a question in the middle of what you're saying. If you want to interrupt me, interrupt me. In fact, I encourage you to, because we miss really good communication because you want me to sit here for 5 minutes and let you finish. Can't do it, man. We got a show to run. So answer my question. Is it a mental health issue or is it an economic issue?
Both, I would think.
Okay. Is there any other issues that we're missing that could be leading to gang violence besides mental health and economy? There's got to be more to it than that. It can't just be those two, or is it?
No. I think a lot of that also stems from a breakdown of the family unit. You know, if there's no father in the house, then young teenage men are just never shown what it means to be I'm not saying women aren't responsible. I'm just saying that a man in the house tends to be a lot more of the authority figure that says, this is how it is. This is how it will be done, or you will deal with me. Women moms typically tend to be so much more, nurturing and caring that they lack a lot of that disciplinarian in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. So is that culture? Is it family values? Is it education? I mean, I guess that would be the whole key. Is education has to be a big part. Economy, education, and mental awareness. Mental health, I guess, would have to be a part of that as well. Anything else that we're missing before we move on?
No.
Okay, so Johnson's checking one of those boxes with mental health. And I think that has a lot more to do when someone tries to exit gang violence and tries to rehab out of that from a life of crime, more than it does as preventive maintenance. And I think education, family values, and economic opportunity are going to solve the problem, where mental health will probably become obsolete after a generation or so. So, okay, fair enough. So if you remember your point, I know it's hard and you're like, damn it, now I don't remember my point, but unfortunately.
No, I'm taking notes.
Good. Go for it then. Go with your original point then.
Well, and what else I was going to add to that was that, her stances on anti-gun and oddly enough, anti-police. She really did pit the police force against her office.
She did.
And she wanted to make it very clear that she was going to be the winner and that the police would do her bidding.
That's right.
And I felt that was a huge missed opportunity. That was a place where she could, pull on the police to say, hey, look, You definitely have to be the authority figures when you go out there, but there is such a thing as being socially engaged
Right.
with the people that you are policing as well. And she
Correct.
didn't allow that to happen.
Right. Well, I heard everything from funding. I mean, everyone goes, the chief of police is Brown, I believe his name was, oh, he's just a lapdog. Hold on a second. Now that's not, I lived in the city that this guy was in. Okay. I've met the guy. He may have done that, and I've already condemned him for that. But what I'm saying is that when you go to work and you have a calling to go and work and make a difference in Black youth's lives like he did, and he was recruited because of his overall stance in Dallas, and then you get there and you find out that Lori Farkin Lightfoot isn't going to give you an inch of what's needed, well, you're kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place. So what do? Do you talk shit about the mayor and then ultimately get fired, or be in a place for 4 years and make no difference and then be the scapegoat? In this case, what he did is resigned because I believe he truly took responsibility and said, well, I failed. Why I failed is immaterial. Everyone knows why, but I failed. So I'm not saying that you give this guy a pass. What I'm saying is that if you got a quarterback who's won 2 Super Bowls, and then he comes to your team and loses 2 Super Bowls, it doesn't mean he's a shitty quarterback. It means that he didn't perform as well with that other team, or with your team, as he did with the other team. You still need to recognize he won 2 Super Bowls. And this chief of police did have an amazing impact on Dallas and cleaned it up relatively quickly based upon his performance. It's something to think about. All right.
Now,
Leroy,
I would say,
go ahead.
absolutely. I because I did want to push back on that a little bit, not in terms of what you just said, but something you said about 2-3 minutes ago about fighting evil with evil. My only pushback against that would be that post that, and we brought it up last week during podcast. There's that group called Omaha 360 that had brought down the gun violence within their city limits by over 50% over the course of a decade. And they did it not with using, excessive gun control measures. No, they did this community engagement type item. And so I know what you're saying is that when you have an evil person in front of you, it's already too late. And at that point, you got to take the bull by the horns.
You fall.
Maybe, a little bit. But what else? I mean, what I'm saying is that
I heard her going in the background.
No. I'm trying to get the video. Dude, I'm running. Come on, man. I'm the one guy. I got to run everything. So it's an accident. I'm not pushing you to stop. I want you to keep going. But Omaha, Nebraska is not Chicago.
No. And so my other part that I was going to kind of add on to that was, in this case, it could be that what Chicago needs, almost like not necessarily a right-leaning Democrat, but maybe more of a left-leaning Republican, where they can recognize that some of these community outreach programs would help, but at the same time, find ways, because what starts crime off in a lot of these cities is just that there's so much poverty. And if you can get people out of poverty, right, that would alleviate some of that crime. Well, how do you do that? And that's when you start leaning on Republican policies that say, hey, look, we need to back off of the local businesses in terms of their taxes, in terms of their regulations that they need to follow, that type of thing. If that were to help local businesses, that's my thought process.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you. On a small enough scale, socialism works.
True.
But then once you expand it into what?
Like household size.
No,
I'm kidding.
You can run a socialist country on 1.5 million people, and if it's got the necessary components of capitalism built into it, you can have a Sweden, you can have a Norway, you can have a Finland. You can do that. Even 30 million people. Socialist underlines with basically being a nanny state, government subsidies, government taking care of people, government overreaching and taxing the shit out of the population can work in certain society. That's not the United States, and that's why it will never work in the United States. Alex is coming in. Alex, you better have an opinion, buddy.
Alex.
We're not going to. Yeah, well, I love Alex, but he can't do this. Well, I don't know anything about this. Damn it, you better not. Can't say that. You got to tell me what the hell's going on, Alex. Alex, good to see you, buddy. It's been wonderful to have you here. What is up in your world? What is new? What is exciting?
No, I'm calling in to make an opinion of the poverty of
There we
why
go.
there are so many gangs and whatnot.
That a boy. I'm excited about it. Tell me, what's your opinion? Let's hear
Good
it.
to see you, Alex.
It is good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you. Good to see you guys too. I actually have to agree with Leroy. I believe there is both a mental and an economic problem in this aspect. I don't believe that. I mean, I
You're a
believe
wise
that
man, Alex. Have I told you that?
I believe I believe that if if every one of these gangbangers had a Lamborghini and a mansion, I don't think they would be the one that would hold you up at 7-Eleven at gunpoint in the late evening.
Mhm.
So I definitely believe that there's a poverty aspect there.
Well, that's the economic reason, but what's the mental reason that you're agreeing? Not that I have a problem with you agreeing with Leroy, because you absolutely have every right to be wrong. No, I'm kidding. Because I agree with Leroy. I believe it's a mental issue. I do believe it's an economic issue. I just think there's other imperatives to it that need to be addressed first. Is my point. That's the only place we disagree. But what from a mental standpoint would benefit from having mental health hospitals and psychological clinics for gangbangers?
Well, when it comes to, I don't know what psychiatric diagnosis I would put on these people. If it would be, I don't know. It's difficult for me to predict that, but I believe that if you would if you would help them out in any way earlier on, maybe you could kind of prevent the economic ones later. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but how do you do that? I mean, see, this is I'm not disagreeing with you that mental health is a huge portion, but that's what we do. We throw them in prison and we go, okay, we're going to give you rehabilitation, which is essentially mental health. Get in touch with your feelings. Here's a trade. Go ahead and build a fucking knit a triple stitch sweater. Okay, now you're ready for society. That's the mental health aspect, and prisons do a horrible job of it. So I agree. Individual hospitals, more care, whatever, fine. But that's kind of like trying to defuse a bomb that's already gone off. What I want to do is do preventive. I want to focus on the economic and educational standpoints of bettering the city and making a generational change versus putting a systemic Band-Aid on it.
You want me to comment?
Fuck yeah, I do.
Well,
of course, I want you to sit there and look dumbfounded.
I agree. I mean, but like I don't have this kind of knowledge that I know what the solution is, because I believe that there's so much problems that has to be fixed. But
Right.
definitely, I do believe that these people in a way need help, and I also believe that of course, if you ruin the family, you could also ruin the society. And if these gangbangers obviously had dads that left them very early on and whatnot, or probably wasn't even there to begin with, I think that also has an impact on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, go ahead.
Can I add something to that? To Footstamp Matt's point. Frederick Douglass actually said that it was easier to build strong children than it was to repair a broken man. And that's what Matt is talking about. That's that preventative measure that we're trying to get in there and try and figure out how to make a family unit, an actual family unit again, something that would prevent that from happening. And so there's several different, ways to go about this, and maybe the pun is intended for Chicago, but there's several different bullets, right? There's the
magic bullets.
Eliminating, or not eliminating, but reducing poverty, right? Poverty that leads to crime, bolstering up the family unit, and maybe there is an element of mental health / community outreach.
I believe definitely there is. It has to be mental health is definitely part of this.
I think it's all good points. Alex, is there a lot? I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I'm done. Go ahead.
Was there? Well, is there? How's crime in Norway? I mean, do you have a lot of Norwegian gangster rappers out there representing the 2-6?
The crime here is certainly it's not on the American level. I mean, like we have problem areas, definitely we have here, but it's not. You cannot compare it to, let's say, parts of Los Angeles, parts of New York, or parts of Detroit or Michigan. You cannot compare it.
Right, but I don't know if that answers the question. Is Norway, does it have a gang element in the inner cities and impoverished areas, or are there? Since
Yeah,
it's all socialism, right?
it's not that it's socialism.
I know it's not.
It's just different. It's just very different. But yeah, we do have problem areas. We do have gangs in certain areas, but it's not as bad as if, let's say, I am a Caucasian guy walking into parts of Detroit late at night by myself. Kind of dangerous. It's more like
Right.
yeah.
Well, Norway's mostly pretty homogenous, right? I mean, you don't really see a lot of people that don't look like you. Is that a
He's
fair?
basically saying you're a bunch of whiteys.
And so, like, if you go to the capital city in Norway, then it's a little bit different there. It's a lot of internationals there, but usually it's more homogeneous. Yes.
Okay, so not really. It's kind of apples and apples, but we all have an opinion on this because this is basically why. This isn't the Da Vinci Code. Everyone understands the difference between right and wrong. I don't care if they're from Norway. I don't care if you're from Germany. You can be Saudi Arabia. The difference between right and wrong inherently is something that we understand, okay? Because our conscience tells us so. And if we don't know, eventually we get there, right? The whole entire world was wrapped and cloaked in slavery, and there still is slavery in the world today. But most people, civilized society, sovereign nations, have realized that slavery is fundamentally wrong. I love you. Good night. And 1-0, thank you. So when we look at this, we understand that what it's going to take, because we consider ourselves black, white, brown, or indifferent, most to be law-abiding citizens. And we understand what it's going to take to get there. It starts with good family values. Our family helped us there. Economically, we have enough, maybe a little bit hard sometimes to pay the rent or get the food that we want. We might have to eat some grilled cheese or some Velveeta. But ultimately, we understand that there's a basic economic standard that needs to be met in order to not make the choices that are fundamentally against our code. So we understand all of that. So instead of implementing those policies, Lori Lightfoot is up here saying it's all, you should love who you want to love, like who you want to like. You should be able to drive down the street without feeling pressured by the police. What this doesn't help. This is why we are where we want. Giuliani cleaned up New York with one reason: stop and frisk, and unfortunately, a little bit of breaching and encroaching upon the Constitution for the betterment of everyone, to subject a few to suspending Fourth Amendment rights. And I'm not saying that that's what we need. I'm not saying we need that totalitarian type of experience, but my God, you don't clean out Watts, you don't clean out Brooklyn, you don't clean out Compton with peace, love, dope.
Right. Well, that's the woke progressivism at work, right? That's woke progressivism, like, in practice. They don't really. What she's basically saying, to your point, is love who you want to love. Don't let anyone tell you that you can be whatever you want to be in life. That's the placement, or she's trying to place feelings in front of reality. I mean, that's what being woke is.
I also believe that it's also being very naive, and that they don't understand, and they also don't understand the seriousness of what could ever happen to someone if they,
right.
If such how do you call it? Let's say woke. Let's say this woke mentality would basically could run the streets. Basically, I don't think I would be very safe if I walked into a gangbanger's neighborhood if I could not call the police or anything like that.
Not wearing that sweater, you wouldn't. No. So, and by the way, you need to go to the Donut and Friendly store and pick out a shirt or a sweater. Dude, you've lost so much freaking weight that doesn't even fit you anymore. So you need to show off that girlish figure that you're rocking. So go to the Donut and Friendly store, pick out a shirt, and I'll send it to you for free. I don't care what it costs. So just tell me which one you want. All right.
Okay. I'll let you know. I'll have a look.
You're paying shipping.
Also the coffee.
You can get some coffee. Just get everything you want, but you're paying shipping. I'm not spending that fucking. I'm not spending $700 on shipping.
It's not that. It's not going to be that much. It
wouldn't. It's probably $25-$30. I'll pay shipping. I'll give you the product for free. All right, let's watch this.
Okay. I'll give you the PayPal. Don't worry.
All right, we'll take care of it. All right, we'll watch this. Let's finish the rest of this real quick.
Defined by how hard you work and how much you do good for other people.
No, I did not call Alex a girl. I said he had a girlish figure. That's different. She looks so angry.
Obviously, we didn't win the election today, but I stand here with my head held high and a heart full of gratitude.
Heart full of love and gratitude for losing.
I am grateful to the millions of Chicagoans who came together as we made tough decisions, saw the struggles of our frontline workers, and beat back a deadly pandemic.
Beat back. We beat back better. What is this, 1960?
I'm grateful that we worked together to remove a record number of guns off our streets, reduce homicides, and started making real
Reduced
progress
homicide.
on public
What?
safety.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
That's a lie.
Is this
mental
Joe
health
Biden over
services.
here? What do you mean we reduced homicides? That's a blatant lie. Reduced homicides month over month or week over week or day over day? Okay, maybe, but
in the
year
last
over
hour.
Right. We reduced homicides since I've been sitting here talking because I've put most of Chicago to sleep.
Housing, education, job training, and legal services.
Preach.
I'm
Well, there's like 3
extraordinarily
people
proud
clapping there.
that we made investments in communities that have been neglected for decades with Invest Southwest.
There's that one person. Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
And putting over $2.2 billion into communities in our neighborhoods. That commitment simply must continue.
Is that from all the sanctuary cities?
Pause that real quick.
Yeah,
And I'm proud of the fact
She's talking about sending millions of dollars into these neighborhoods and never considers, well, wait, maybe there's another way to get millions of dollars into those neighborhoods, which would be to tax them less. That never crosses her mind.
Right. Or incentivize actual small business to grow into those areas so these people have someplace to work other than McDonald's and Subway.
Exactly.
Or Popeye's chicken.
So that
But
they're
even
not
that-
stuck
but
with
even
the
th-
last resort of dealing crack on the corner because, you know, there's no businesses in the area for some poor kid to go and get a job at.
I hear you. Alex, go ahead.
Wouldn't it be a little bit risky to incentivize small businesses to go into those areas, though, to begin with?
Yes, that's the point.
Very.
But that's the point. But here's the
But
thing.
yeah,
You
it's the
don't
only
in,
fix, though.
it is the only fix. And you don't incentivize listen, here's the truth of it. You don't incentivize white people to live there. You incentivize white people to do business there to ultimately upbring the neighborhood so white people want to move there. Unfortunately, that's just the truth. And that's the way it works. And it's horrible to say, but the division, the railroad track mentality, I've talked about it plenty of times on here. Every major city you go to, there's one side of the tracks and then there's the other. We've got to stop that division. We have got to create more multicultural business investment into the inner cities. And what you do is you have private investors come in and fund local constituents to create their own business. You create those subways instead of being corporate owned, you make them franchise owned. But people can't afford that. So you have to lend them the money. You have to give them the interest rate, not to have them pay 75% back to corporate, but to give them an incentive to do 10, 15% over 10 or 15 years. And you've got to have companies make this to be a de facto philanthropic giving. Make it a charitable contribution to these cities. Subway can afford $20 million a year. McDonald's can afford $20 million a year to put up 20 businesses in Chicago and fund these and build them from the ground up. Why not? Instead of giving this money to companies like the American Red fucking Cross and the Salvation Army and Good fucking Will that do nothing, give that money to people who can actually do something, to private industry.
Well, what they should be doing is offering tax incentives to big companies who would
Right.
be willing to move there. The
I
Amazons,
agree.
the GEs,
I agree.
all of the major corporate, the Fortune 500s.
Correct.
Right? If they
I
could
agree.
find a
I
way
agree.
to cut them a few tax dollars off, right, with the incentive to move into Chicago, that would do a lot to employ people.
But see, and people are like, oh, well, the businesses are going to get burned down. Listen to me, okay? Stop exaggerating. I have lived in plenty of barrios. I've lived in plenty of impoverished neighborhoods. Occasionally, you do have riots and you do it, but it's not what you think. you need to give credit, unless you've lived there, which I have. Stop it. Just stop it. The inner cities are not all what you think it is. And some of the impoverished neighborhoods that you're talking about, they care about their neighborhoods. There are some very bad spots, but it needs to stop that you think that all black people just burn down their business. That is, you watch too much Fox News. Knock it off. It's not true. There are plenty of places like Aurora, Colorado, which used to be called Saudi Aurora. And I've talked about 5 Points in Denver, Oxnard, California, which were extremely drug-ridden, gang-violated inner cities that have been rehabilitated by investing in corporations and franchisee opportunities based upon the premise of using it as charitable contributions and tax deductions to invest and make it beneficial for corporations, where if one gets burned down, that they ain't going to lose their ass, because the government has effectively incentivized them to go into these areas and made it profitable for all parties involved. I would rather have that type of stuff, because you're not teaching someone, or you're not just giving someone a fish, you're teaching them how to fish. So ultimately, we don't need to fucking do it anymore. But this endless nanny state crap, it doesn't work. Go ahead, Leroy.
No, well, I mean, but that's what progressivism needs. It always needs the next victim, so that the Lori Lightfoots of the world can get up there and have a platform and say, this is the victim of the day club. These are the people that we need to be looking out for. And so long as they can do that, right, then they'll always have that platform.
Right.
Republicans want to eliminate the ability for someone to become a victim, whereas
that's right,
as the Lori Lightfoots of the world need there to be victims, because that's what gives them their cause.
And the only reason we haven't solved this problem yet is because Democrats don't want to. Because if Democrats solved welfare, if Democrats solved lack of family values in the inner cities, and increased educational benefit and reduce the amount of minorities in prison by doing all of these things, they would lose freaking 20% of their voter base.
Right.
They can't afford that. That's what it's like doctors trying to cure cancer. Nobody wants to cure cancer. Why? Because it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. That's why.
I would love to see a study done, right, from Harvard, Princeton, whoever, Johns Hopkins. I would love to see a study done that says that once a Democrat has transitioned to Republican, do they ever go back? And then I want to see another study done saying,
yes,
how many Republicans have gone to Democrat and then not gone back.
You don't see that.
No, I would love to know that number.
There's a grocery store in Houston that does this, and I don't remember the name of the grocery store. Essentially, all the employees own the store. They receive profit share.
Yeah.
What's that?
Like an ESOP.
So,
employee stock owned up.
Yeah. That's essentially what it is. It's all profit sharing. They come in, they sign a contract, they work for a certain period of time, they agree to a certain salary, and the owner takes the profits and divides that amongst the employees, and they are essentially stockholders in the company. So when there's a piece of trash on the ground, they pick it up. It's not a socialist point of view. It's an ownership share. It creates financial equity. Not emotional equity, financial equity. It creates investment instead of divestment. When you lose an employee on an average whatever, whether it be Subway or Best Buy, it takes $30,000 to train that person. Now people go, wait a second, how is that possible? You've got taxes. You've got unemployment insurance. You've got overhead. You've got so many different things. And also in retail, $1 equals 10. $1 of loss equals $10 to make it up because the margins are so damn small. And I can show this to you on a long enough timeline. So when you lose an employee and it costs $3,000 to train them, and then you've got to retrain an employee, and then the sales lost opportunities because it takes 45 days to get them even up to speed to be somewhat articulate in the basic sales technique. And then to reach that person that you lost sales potential might take 6 months to a year what you lose is a 10-to-1 ratio. So this constant churn and burn is horrible for business. But when you have ownership, where if you leave the company, you lose your ownership share and your RSUs and your investment into the company, that creates incentive to stay.
Yeah.
So you can't do this on a 150,000 employee company, but you can certainly do it on a 25 person company or a 30 person grocery store. We need to change the way we think, and we need to start expanding our minds and looking at the models that work around the world to not solve the problem for everybody, but solve it for a group of people and put it on an economic sliding scale that makes sense for each one of these impoverished neighborhoods. That's my point.
I agree.
You know,
Create
I work.
create
Go ahead, Alex.
create
Go ahead,
economic opportunities. Create economic opportunities. Give people incentive to work instead of doing crime.
Yep. HEB is an example. Woodman's is an example. These are the stores that do that. And HEB is more of just pay your employees extremely farkin' well and treat your customers like gold and have multiple options and make it a Disneyland experience. There is no better place ever in the world to shop than HEB. It's like Buc-ee's in Texas. Texas has got it down. Everyone's like Florida. Florida's amazing, but if you want to truly know how to run the country, go to Texas. They've got it on fucking lockdown because they have the most diverse politically state in the union. You've got the cities, which are predominantly Democrat, and then you have the rural areas, which are predominantly conservative, and everywhere else is independent. Texas is an amalgamation of what America should look like, the way they run their business, the way they run their government, the way they run their balance sheet. The only thing they don't do very well is their energy because they're over dependent on oil, and too many fucking groups are trying to do alternative energies, and it's taking away from Texas's ability because windmills don't work in the cold. Solar panels aren't that effective, and they're trying to subsidize energy, and unfortunately it got Texas in a bind. They're moving away from that. But Texas is an amazing state to live. Was my favorite place that I've ever lived. I love Texas. Anyway,
You know, that's a
Go
really
ahead.
good point in terms of the progressivism. 9 times out of 10, most of the policies that they advocate for usually end up yielding the opposite results that they want. A great example is the Greens that live in Germany. For a long time, they were really, really harsh with their political leaders, and they would saying, you know, hey, we don't want nuclear energy anymore. We don't want, we don't want you to use coal anymore. And so German politicians reacted to that and said, all right, well, they started shutting down a bunch of the nuclear plants. Oh, now we don't want to use coal anymore. Well, all of a sudden they had issues with lighting and producing enough electricity for the country to use.
Mhm.
So they ended up using a coal substitute called lignite, which is like 30% water by volume. And so the green movement who had this goal to say, hey, we want to reduce carbon emissions, now they're burning lignite and their carbon emissions have gone through the roof because they don't know what they're doing. That's essentially how progressivism work. It's you try to control something at a societal level, right? And if you don't know what you're doing, it usually yields opposite results.
Alex, go ahead,
And
buddy.
that also caused a lot of energy dependence. Not energy dependence, but lack of energy. And that also, so when the demand got too high, the prices skyrocketed.
Right.
And that's been a problem for a very long time now in the EU and non-EU, but the EU economic member partnership countries also.
Yeah.
So, if Germany has a problem now with energy here in Norway and elsewhere, are definitely going to feel it financially.
The whole point of the video, truly, good point, Alex, good point, Leroy, is that the whole point of the video in its entirety is that Lori Lightfoot takes no personal responsibility for anything she did wrong.
No.
There's no humility. And it all came down to her saying that this was all because of racism and sexism, why she didn't get reelected. The question I have is, if it was so racist and sexist in Chicago, then how did she get the job in the first place?
Exactly.
Good.
How did AOC get where she's at? Because of racism? Because of sexism?
Well, and she's
I
hot.
think not.
and she's hot.
Maybe that's part of it. Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, AOC. I think AOC is smoking. Listen, we're going to go early tonight. The reason why is because it's Wednesday and there's not a lot of people on, and I don't know why. It could be holiday, could be hump day. People are tired. There's not a lot in the news. Could be sports. I don't know. So we're going to watch this one thing with Joe Biden, get reaction, and then we're going to pop smoke because I want to go watch my Avs game.
And I add something real quick, though. Just one quick quote.
As long as it's quick.
It is. It's hard to imagine a more stupid or more dangerous way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of people who pay no price for being wrong. That's Thomas Sowell.
Thomas Sowell.
And that's exactly what Lori Lightfoot, that's exactly what Matt is talking about. She didn't pay any price for being wrong, right? Crime skyrocketed. People get shot. She suffers no consequence. Well, now she's being voted out, so I guess she did, but.
Yeah, but there's no personal consequences.
Right.
Has there ever been a politician ever admit they were wrong? Donald Trump. He just didn't say it. But see, here's the thing is Donald Trump didn't hit Nixon. Ronald Reagan said he was wrong. George Bush said he was wrong. Bill Clinton said he was wrong, even though he asked you the definition of it. I've heard Youngkin here in Virginia say he was wrong. I've heard Dan Crenshaw say he. Huh? I
didn't hear about that one. Youngkin.
Yep. Youngkin. Youngkin said he admitted openly that he should have done more for the military so far in his first year. Said that, he got feedback about him not pushing bills through in Virginia. And he said, okay, I could have worked faster. You don't have to admit you're wrong, but there is a level of humility that when you're standing up and you're exiting stage left, you should be able to say, hey,
I screwed up.
I screwed up. Richard Nixon wasn't a crook. When he says I'm not a crook, he was right. Richard Nixon wasn't a crook. Why do people think that on behalf of the DNC and the RNC, that they are not master manipulators and do shit all the time without the knowledge of the President of the United States? Because plausible deniability. Richard Nixon was one of the best presidents we've ever had from a foreign policy standpoint, from his economic decisions, from his overall.
Didn't he go to visit China?
Well, that's what I meant from a world policy standpoint. Yeah. Richard Nixon was not a bad president. He wasn't a crook. In today's standards, that would be like getting the debate questions that Hillary Clinton got. It just comes down to this. When we look at presidents past, Bill Clinton wasn't a horrible president. I don't care what anyone says. He made bad decisions with the military. I've said it 100 times. But he stooped somebody in the Oval Office. Oh, what you basically mean is he got caught stooping somebody in the Oval Office. Here's the video. I want to watch this, then I want to watch my Avs game. I'm sorry. Hockey's getting a playoff time. I got to get serious. Here we go.
Let's do it. Who's this guy?
Sexy bastard. Hello.
The size of that forehead. It's huge.
Dude, why are you getting personal? What's up with that? Do I ever insult you or your looks? It's not funny. What's wrong with my forehead? No, let's get to it. What's wrong with my forehead?
I'm kidding.
At least I know where my fucking forehead starts and my neck ends.
Oh, I know, right?
Fucking douchebag. God. Can't stand you sometimes. You're so mean to me. God, my self-esteem is already so low. I got to get this thing open. I can't even. I wouldn't be questioning my forehead. I'd be questioning my aptitude to open up a video. That's the worst. Today in Virginia Beach, Joe Biden addressed a crowd about a nursing story, about how he was in the military and got frisky with a nurse. I have no idea. I've edited the clip to add a few laughs. Take a look and tell me what you think and see if you can figure out what the heck he says.
And I had a nurse named Pearl Nelson, military. She'd come in and do things that I don't think you learn in medical school, nursing school.
Whoa. I came to help restore your pluck, because I'm the nurse who likes to...
She'd whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her. She'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, a human connection.
Hello? Hello?
She even went home and brought back her pillow from her own bed because she knew the one I had, the one comfortable.
Smother you with a pillow.
But I'm not joking.
But he's still cracking jokes with the nurses.
Holy shit. What's wrong with him? I mean, seriously, what the hell is he talking about, man? I finally found out it was about a story about Walter Reed Hospital when he was there. But when you start off the premise that a nurse, okay, there's a nurse and they didn't teach her this stuff in nursing school. You're talking about a hand job. You're getting a handy under the sheets. Every guy goes there. Every woman goes, what the hell is he talking about? What is wrong with this guy? What? First of all, the video, I'm going to make more of these because I thought it was, I hope you guys liked it.
Oh, I loved it.
Funny.
I loved it.
Good. So
loved it.
Alex, I'm ashamed to be an American. Obviously it's written all over my forehead. Fuck you, Leroy. So, your thoughts, Leroy, on Alex on this. I really want to get your take. What are your thoughts when you see our jackass president do this?
I'm speechless. No comments.
No, you can't do that shit. You're not coming on the show and saying no comments. I want to comment. What are your thoughts?
I don't know what to say, honestly.
Is it as bad as we think? Is it as bad as we think?
It certainly sounds that way. The first thing that I thought of when he was talking about, and she did things that she didn't learn in nursing school. That was like the first thing I thought of was like, an inappropriate sponge bath where he was like, hey, let me show you this. Like, I learned this one from Bill Clinton. That's what every person, every guy who ever watched that was the first thing they thought. And a lot of women too.
So
that's creepy.
So, okay. So then I'm going to ask one question because I get this question more than anything and everyone knows where I stand on this. He's running. Like I'm saying without any equivocation that he's running. Alex, yes or no? Is he running?
If so, I wish him good luck. But I don't think
that's
so.
That's not an answer. That's listen. You can't be Sweden, okay? You can't fucking ride the middle of the fence. You got to you got to get involved in this war. You got to pick a side. I know you fucking people never get involved, but you need to get involved. It's time to pick a side. Is he running or not running?
Don't take a knee, or if you do it like Tanya Harding.
I would never take the knee, but I mean, there are people are saying that he's running, so I would assume that he is running. But
what's your gut tell you? I mean, look at him and you tell me: is he going to run or not going to run? I want your vote. Get on the record.
I think
now.
so. I think so. I think so.
That's fair.
I haven't seen anyone declining that he's not going to run, but I think so. I think so.
Okay, Leroy.
All right. Almost certainly he is. His poll numbers are not great, but they're better than what they were, right? And so that's a big step in the right direction. And then when you balance that with the fact that, all right, well, who else could they float? Who else could the Democrats float that would be
Lori Lightfoot?
Well, at least we know she's needs a job.
Dare I say that she might do a smidge better? I mean, everybody in the inner cities will die, but can she do much worse than Joe effing Biden?
Yeah.
I mean, who else of the Democrats are going to challenge President Biden?
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell people. You don't get rid of the incumbent. It's stupid. It's political suicide. You lose all your fundraising potential.
You're basically admitting at a party level, you're admitting that we screwed up. We shouldn't have had that guy.
Right. And not just that, your fundraising capability. You got to understand, they're fundraising now. The first round of fundraising has already begun. And this one is the one that you actually have to give 50% back if the candidate doesn't move forward. Well, with an incumbent president, you get to keep 100% of the proceeds. So even if they lose Joe Biden, they still get to go ahead and fund another candidate with those dollars. Campaign finance is really an interesting thing. If you have not looked at campaign finance, look into it. It comes down to this. This is all about money. Joe Biden, it's 4 years, right? They're like this. We just got to get to January.
Yeah.
January 15th, 2024. We do that, or 2025, right? That's what it would be. So we got to get to, right, 2024 is the election. He gets sworn in on January 15th. So they're just looking for that. If we can just get Joe and roll his old bones out there and keep him propagated and shove a cattle prod up his ass and light him up a little bit, once we get him in office, then we don't care what happens.
Yeah. Now, it will be really interesting in another, year and a half worth of time. What got him elected last time was it was a combination of a bunch of different things, right? But I mean, there was so much scrutiny on the drop boxes, and I wonder if there will be another push forward in the next year or so to say, "Hey, look, we need more drop boxes," and they'll, fabricate some.
You're not going to get the drop boxes because that's been the number one. You're right. That's been the number one battle in all of these states. And states are unanimously winning with their Supreme Courts and their district courts that these drop boxes need to be limited because of the amount of time it takes to count. That's number one. Number two, mail-in ballots is actually on the docket. So Supreme Court is listening to this in March. I said this about 3 or 4 months ago about the election of 2020 and hearing some of the complaints from the individual states. And this is going to change elections. And ultimately you want mail-in ballots to stop, because if voter ID is the extreme to suppress elections, then mail-in ballots, most assuredly, unregistered mail-in ballots, is the way to cheat in elections.
Exactly.
They're antithetical to each other. Just like having Gandhi and Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela and James Biko sit on a freaking park bench and then have the Klan and have Black Panthers and skinheads on the other are antithetical to each other, then voter ID and mail-in ballots, they are completely antithetical to each other. Now, do I believe, once again, that voter ID is oppressed? No, not at all. In no way, shape, or form. I think voter ID should be a mandatory for every single voting age human being to have, and it should be on their ID. If we can literally put a gold star, which horrible fucking choice, FAA, put a gold star on an ID to show that you are able to fly, how difficult is it literally in the next 4 years when all renewals minus Arizona and a couple of other states that have 40-year driver's license to make sure that every single person is registered to vote and gets a voter ID? How hard is that? It's not. It's racist not to do it. Because what you're saying is that minorities can't figure out how to go to the DMV. That's what you're saying.
It's worse than that, isn't it? I mean, you're basically saying, look, in order to be able to vote in this country, you have to be a citizen. But if you remove the requirement for the ID, then you can't show that everyone who voted was a citizen.
Right.
And so that's the double-edged sword that we find ourselves in.
And also you're also lowering the standards for them, but not for everyone else.
Well, right.
So
but that's what equal rights are in America, Alex. They're not equal at all. They're special rights. See, transgenders, LGBTQ, Black, women, fungoids, mongoloids, and Martians all have the same rights. There are no rights that one race or color, creed, sexual disposition, religious beliefs have over another. There's none. But you'll hear from feminists. That's why fucking being a feminist today is just ridiculously stupid. Because the moment you ask them, please tell me one policy that makes you different from me. Crickets.
Right.
Ask African American, please tell me one policy. Now, if you want to get into healthcare, you want to get into criminal justice, completely different. That is not a systemic issue. That's a state issue. That's a city issue, local town and municipality. And there are people responsible to fix that. And it's certainly not the federal government. So my whole thing is, if you want to fix something that's wrong with you, look in the mirror and take personal responsibility first. And that's where I bring you back to the Don Lemon video. And it can go for white people, Black people, brown people, doesn't matter what color you are. In fact, you can take the color out of it and homogenize it all you want, because there are plenty of white people who wear their pants around their freaking dinky. Absolutely. And those people have some serious fucking issues. There's plenty of people peddling meth in these I don't have any teeth towns like Tucumcari, New Mexico, who absolutely need to hear the Don Lemon speech. Stick around and have a baby and raise that child and stop doing meth and actually go to the dentist and get your teeth fixed. This comes down to personal choice. And we can sit here and say that the government is responsible. It's not. You are responsible for your pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. We just have to make sure that the United States government doesn't encroach upon it. And as long as that's happening, it's a free-for-all. And I hate to say it. Some people are going to be ditch diggers and some people aren't. And that's just the way the world works. And I don't care if you are a complete moron or an idiot, and I give you every tool and give you the best colleges and give you a brand new car and put you in the Brooks Brothers suits. In the end, all you are going to be is a motivated fucking idiot. Not everybody's created equal. And that comes to jobs and disposition in life as well, and financial success and not. Some people are better than others. I don't know what to tell you. If your lifelong dream is to be a podcast host and you literally can't put two sentences together, and I can, that's not my fucking fault. Don't blame me. There shouldn't be rules and laws and handouts to somehow throttle me and up you in order for you to be successful when I've got the talent to do it. And there's people who I'm not as talented against. I'm not as talented as Ben Shapiro. I'm not as talented as Soul. I'm not as talented as Crowder. I'm my own style of podcast host. But if you're looking at me and you're like, fuck, man, why can't I be like that guy? Because you don't work hard enough. Or you don't have the tools to be successful. So either manage that and get over your handicaps and learn to create obstacles and remove obstacles from your life in order to deflect you down the right path or put you on the right path, or stop bitching. But that's our problem in this country, is we constantly look at everyone else and worry about what they're doing versus worrying about what we own. That's my minute.
Something you said about responsibility, something I learned when I went to, it's not that I learned it, but it was most of Jordan Peterson's stuff. It's like, they're common sense thoughts, but until you hear him say it in his amazing, pithy way that he does things, that was when it really kind of crystallized for me. Responsibility is one of those just unique items in life. And the more responsibility somebody can shoulder, the most responsible people, right, would be the ones who are like CEOs and business owners and, people who are responsible for thousands of other people or hundreds, or, a bottom line of a company, this kind of thing. When you shoulder that much responsibility, you tend to be happier. You tend to be more productive. And it's the people who never shoulder the responsibilities that they should tend to be less happy. They tend to be more miserable. They tend to be the type of person that will blame other people for their position in life. And so what Matt is talking about is, don't give away your responsibilities to your own life. Don't give those away to the government and saying, hey, can you help me run this? I need a few bucks here, or I need this program. I need, I need this here. No, you're supposed to be able to, and to Matt's point, not everyone has the talent to do a LeBron James, or, I'll never have, Ryan Reynolds money because I don't have acting chops and I don't have this, right? But that's not the point.
Well, from the waist down,
he has a specific gift, right? And he worked very hard to hone his skill in acting. He's humorous, right? Good looking dude, right? And so not everyone.
Do you want a minute?
That.
Do you need a minute?
I might need a minute.
My
point is that we are all given, or have the capabilities rather, for certain different talents.
That's right.
Matt's is in, podcasting and marketing, and he's an amazing guy at it. Amazing. The websites that I've seen him create are unbelievable. And he can go on one of the podcasts like this and go for 30 minutes, still remember everyone's name, and hit every point that I would want to hit my own self. And he does it very eloquently. But not
Tell me
all
more
of us
about
can do
me.
that.
Tell me more about me.
Well, you have amazing eyes. And so
talk about
my
my penis.
So that's the point, though, is that we all have different gifts, and
that's right.
It's up to you to kind of develop that skill set. And if you don't think you have a gift, find one.
That's
Do
it.
Something.
That's it. That is the best line ever. And it's that. And Alex, don't you fucking leave.
Don't hang up, Alex.
Don't do that. You got to get your 1 minute. So it comes down to this: is there's an adage, fake it till you make it. That's true.
Yeah.
Listen, I had to get fired from many jobs, and probably will be fired from many more, in order to learn what I don't know. And people go, oh, well, Matt, why? How do you know how to do this? How do you know how to do this? How do you know how to do that? How do you know how to do this? Well, because I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to say, I don't know. I'm not afraid to say, well, I want to get good at that. And when I see something that okay, axe throwing. I've never thrown a fucking axe in my life.
Great.
Oh.
And I walked in Houston, and they had the first axe throwing club. Now they're all over the United States, but it started from Houston. And my boss walks in there. He goes, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. And this guy looked like The Rock, but 1/3 the size. His name is David Salazar. He's a great human being. One of my favorite bosses of all time.
Pebble.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's an amazing guy. And he's like, I'm going to kick your ass in axe throwing. I'm like, okay. And everybody walks in and they throw it, and ka-thunk falls on the floor. Ka-thunk falls on the floor. All the girls go, all the DMs go, and it's a team building event. David goes, ka-thunk hits the floor, and I throw 3 of them and boom, 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 bullseye all 3. Never done it before in my fucking life, ever. And you know what David goes? He goes, a fucking course, because every team building event, that's the way it was. But I can't tell you how I did that. I can't tell you. And then Glenda, she actually wound up beating me because she got better and progressed. I don't know how that happens. In life, I've always been able to do something when I put myself to it. That's my skill set. I know what I'm good at. When I want to do something, I do it, whether it's playing guitar, whether it's painting small miniatures, whether it's creating websites, whether it's putting a round down 750 yards where most guys can't even hit the fucking broadside of a car. I don't know what to tell you. But if you want to be good at something, try everything till failure. Everything you possibly can, try it. When somebody says, let's go see this movie, or hey, how about this book?
Early either.
Try everything and don't quit. Don't be a fucking quitter. Try to be unique. Try to be the most unique human being in the world, which actually sticks to something until you can't do it anymore because either you can't stand it or you've mastered it. One of the two. But the last thing I will tell you is that if you look at most skill sets, it takes 20,000 hours of practice to master something. 20,000 hours. Think about that.
Isn't it 10?
No, it's 20. To master.
Okay.
Not to become prolific. Master. To master a skill set, 20,000 hours. To become somewhat adept and decent at it is like 10,000 hours. But if you want to play the violin, be prepared for 20,000 hours of investment. You want to fly a plane, be prepared for 20,000 hours. And most people will not reach that. But if you strive for excellence or strive for perfection, you will reach excellence. That's a guaranteed. Because here's this is my definition of excellence, and I'm going to shut the fuck up. If you literally can't do something at all, and then you become better than 75% of the rest of the world at it, that's excellent. That's why I am single-handedly the top 1% of masturbators in the world, because I put a lot of hours into it and I've mastered it. Alex, go ahead, buddy. You got 1 minute. And if you say nothing, I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking.
No
comment. No comment.
This is where he's gonna pull. He's gonna pop smoke. Watch this. He's gonna be like, my connection. I gotta.
Yeah.
No, but it's a nice discussion, and I like this discussion that we've had. Honestly, it gives me like a good perspective, honestly, on things.
I think it's awesome that you came on tonight, and I missed you, and I always wonder whenever I see somebody who hasn't been on in a while, and I've seen you chatting, but it means a lot, and I want everybody to come on. Listen, there's plenty of people on here. You guys got to come on. We want to hear from you. We want to have a conversation. It's what this is all about. This is about dialogue. So listen, Alex, thank you for stopping by. Leroy,
thank you.
Love you, buddy. Thanks for the forehead
Love
comment.
you,
it was funny. Made me laugh. Made me laugh. Anything else from you, buddy? Or are we done?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I love the dummies. You guys take care of yourselves. And
I always love having you on, buddy. You always, I like it when I was watching, have you seen Bongino's show?
Which one? Like
his show
one?
that not Fox, but his podcast.
Yeah, I've seen it.
He has like I think you guys Don or something like that. I don't know. I don't watch him enough. I don't watch Bongino enough. But he has this banter with somebody off screen. I want more of that. We tend to do diatribes. It's more me. Like I go on for fucking ever. But there is something good about interjecting in the middle, not interrupting, but it creates amazing flow. That's what you and I are going to work on in 2023 is flow. How do we interact with each other?
I think that there's a lot of people who would probably appreciate a lot more banter between us, a lot more. And when I say insults, I mean playful. I don't mean
like you make fun of my forehead, even though I have a serious inferiority complex about how big my head is. Yeah, that's great. Nice fucking call.
I think it is. I think a lot of people would get a lot. They would be engaged with that kind of thing, is what I'm saying.
I just think it's fun. I think it's fun we're at our best when we're challenging each other's thought process and without worrying about hurting each other's feelings. Like to me, that's the most important thing that you and I do. And Amy and I have gotten that shorthand down. And I think there's something about, we need one or two more people in the show. And we need to get, we just need feedback. But I think being more specific about our topics and having a topic, putting a clock on it and moving on, I think will also helps a lot. I think it'll help a lot. But we're constantly trying to figure it out. Okay.
It's a process. We're growing. We're growing.
We're growing. Hey, Facebook's been going off. The last 3 days has been fucking off the chain. I don't know something's going on there. I think there's this new Facebook blue thing, the check mark. They're fluctuating on trying some new things. They're going to be doing a check mark like Twitter does, which verifies your profile. And I'll be paying for it because I have to. I mean, it's a big channel for me. But I think they're trying some things out and it's messing with the algorithm a little bit. So we'll see. Antoinette's been here. She's on my Twitter all the time. I love her and I miss her and I would hope she would come on. But what we need to do is we need to get people to come on the show more consistently. Antoinette's one of them. Mel is another. Alex is good. Kristen, I want to get you on here. We need to get people on in a more consistent basis to help facilitate these conversations. But either way, we're out tonight. Leroy, I love you, buddy. Thanks for tonight. It was good to have you here. We will go out with the Veteran Crisis Hotline. By the way, stop by the Donut Friendly Show. I got a new shirt. And
love you guys.
Yeah, get
love
out here.
Matt. I'm gonna pop smoke. You
See
guys
buddy.
take care of yourselves.
Peace in the Middle East. Got a new shirt that I just put up, and I thought it was. I don't know why, man. Everyone knows I'm not the most religious guy in the world. I don't know what it was, but I saw a shirt like this and I said, I got to have it up on my page. It's coming. There it is. Got God. I don't know why. I maybe it's the influence of people. I don't know what it is, but I thought it was a cool shirt. So we just threw that up on the site. Stop by the Donut Friendly store, pick up a form-fitting tight shirt that'll look great on you, or pick up an XXL, L, whatever you want. thedumbshow.com, and you can get 10% off. Good night, everybody. God bless. And remember to share this with a veteran with what you're about to hear. I'm going to go watch my Colorado Avalanche, hopefully make a comeback because they're not doing too well right now. See you guys later. Tomorrow, I will have a new recorded show and a new live show. God bless.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets. We want you to
make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and go like the new video, please.
Just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your
Please
struggles.
go like the new recorded show on J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling's new recorded show. It's underneath this one. Please go and throw a like on it.
Vets and
Please
their
share
families,
it.
The Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call.
Yeah, Kristen, I'm making more hoodies soon. Let me know which ones you think should be a hoodie. Send me an email and I'll make them. Good night, everybody. God bless.